Hello, hello, hello. It is Friday night. Welcome to Critical Conversations. Hey, everybody, we are back. I hated being not around last week, but we did have a good time. We went off to a little social engagement, but live from Denver, it is Friday night. And as you can see, I am joined this week by my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. So we are so happy to be here. Looks like everything's coming across great. And yes, good. And the comments are coming to start stream in there. So we got ourselves a show. Let's have a show. This is open mic night. The call-in line is 984-214-4154. So I will just sort of randomly, speak up about this, that, and the other thing. But, the thing about open mic is you guys get to call in and sort of set the tone and whatever subject matter, and I'm going to invite folks who don't usually call in to call in, as well as our, usual assortment of motley characters. This is, your opportunity to talk to me, to talk to my wife. You can ask us questions. We can gab about stuff. And this is just the format where we get to really let our hair down and just be us. And you guys just get to be you, and we get to chat and have a good time. And sometimes we talk about serious stuff, and sometimes we talk about maybe not so serious stuff. And I'm kind of in the mood for maybe not so serious stuff all the time, but whatever. It's been a wild 2 weeks. It's been an interesting 2 weeks behind the scenes here at the Shelton household. In a good way.
Yeah.
Things have been progressing in a good way. I've been getting a lot of work done lately. Just little things that needed to get done. And in fact, I'll tell you guys, I'll share this with you to start with, because I'm excited about it. And I think it's, exciting to a degree, is I've been talking about how I've been doing consulting work. And so I have, put some stuff together and kind of have a little method to my madness. But I got a chance in the last couple of weeks to really kind of trade notes with some other people who do similar type work in this ex-cult world, or this, this field of trying to help people who have come out of cults, or help people who have family or friends who are in cult situations. And I try to do, consulting work to try to help people in those situations. And I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm not pretending to do therapy, but, advice, counseling, help, counseling as in like consulting, and that kind of thing. So I got a chance. Hey, Jeff Hawkins in the house. Awesome. Hey, everybody. So I got a chance this last couple of weeks to start formalizing that process a little bit better, and getting some questionnaires and forms and stuff together and all that, and putting some more organization and formality into some of that. And it's all just kind of behind the scenes stuff. Most of you guys are never going to see or hear anything about it, but it is nice to put some procedure in place for that, not be quite so I don't think I've ever been loosey-goosey with the way I do things, but, a little bit more settled. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been working on a little bit, on top of some personal stuff, and then trying to get that stuff kind of out of the way so I can get back onto the very in progress tone scale video that is happening. So that's now actually like, well along, but it's good time with that. So yeah. Yes. And so of course I see a question there coming in on the David Miscavige being served thing. I want to talk about that for sure. But first, Melissa has her quote for us for this week, and I am not going to forget that. So we are going to get that done first.
All right. I decided, I won't give any spoilers, but we watched the 3rd episode of Last of Us last night, and I've been thinking about relationships and love. So this is a Tom Hanks quote on that topic. Truth is, I'll never know all there is to know about you, just as you will never know all there is to know about me. Humans are by nature too complicated to be understood fully. So we can choose either to approach our fellow human beings with suspicion, or to approach them with an open mind, a dash of optimism, and a great deal of candor.
Well, there you go. It is a choice. We don't have lots and lots of choices with the circumstances of our world and our life. And that's been becoming a reality to me more and more and more and more as time has gone on, and experience and all that. And And so it's like, well, what do you have control over? Well, you don't have control over Russia. You don't have control over Ukraine. You don't have control over the Middle East. You don't have control over cults. You just don't have control over the economy and things like that. They're just bigger than us. They're bigger than all of us. But you do have control over your choices, your decisions, your reactions. In fact, what a real big kind of like kind of thing I was having this last week was responsibility. The word responsibility. It's this big, heavy trigger word. Everybody freaks out about it. It's just the ability to respond, to have a response to something. Can you have a response to it? Should you have a response to it? Can you do that? Well, then you can have some degree of responsibility for it. Maybe a little bit, maybe a lot, And that, I think that has a lot to do with a good mental health outlook, I think a healthy outlook, and I think that's why I talk about it. Cause I always got my mind in the psych stuff and why people act and think the way they do. So anyway, just some things to share. Oh, and I gotta reinforce what she just said, because if you guys have not been checking out, I got all kinds of things to say about entertainment these days, and the fact that the quality of it has been diving in some really, really nasty ways. But that really highlights the good stuff even more.
Yes.
And we have just been getting into, we're a little late arriving, we know, but this HBO show, The Last of Us, which is based on this game, but is not at all like a video game show.
Yeah, it's not cheesy or trying to just show you game movement or something.
Exactly.
It's actually doing a story.
That's right. And it's a really interesting story. And the characters are real. And the world building is like, okay, I'm going for this ride. And I got to say, like I said, we're late to the game on this. It's up to like episode 5 or 6 right now. But that third episode of that show changed the way I think about things a little bit in a really, really positive way. And I was very, very, very impressed with the first 3 episodes of this thing so far. That's how far along we are on it. So I highly, highly recommend checking out that show if you have access to it. The Last of Us. It's just amazing. Okay, so we did have a question in the queue about David Miscavige.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and take that, and then we'll get to, I see we have a call in the queue already, which is awesome. Yes, we will get to that. But let me comment on the Miscavige thing, because obviously that's a big deal. It might not be as big of a deal as as some people are speculating, and that's one thing I'd like to clarify right off. Okay, so David Miscavige has been named as a defendant in a human rights trafficking case in Florida that has been brought by 3 ex-Scientologists, ex-Sea Org members who were minors when they were in the Sea Org and were trafficked, according to their claims in the lawsuit. And this is quite a thing. And they are naming the Church of Scientology and David Miscavige directly as defendants in this. And it's a civil case. It is not a criminal case. And that's the first point I want to bring to everybody's attention on this, because it's not a matter of, oh, David Miscavige has been served and now they're going to go get him and they're going to, clap him in leg irons or handcuffs and drag him in, or something like this, or they're going to perp walk him. That's not the kind of case this is. And I think most of us are on the same page on that. We've taken great pains on this channel to differentiate civil cases from criminal cases, 2 whole different parts of the law. So this is a civil case, which means the only thing that's going to happen in this thing, as I understand civil cases, is money's going to trade hands. That's the idea, is that you're bringing a civil case to punish and show and highlight that this person is guilty of things that are not okay, and they're going to pay for it, literally pay for it. And that's the hope here. And so the Miscavige for the last year has been diving here, diving there, using his lawyers to play this sort of, whack-a-David as to where the hell is this guy, right? It's sort of a where's David, as opposed to the, the where's Shelley. It's where's David, right? And And so now the judge finally looked at all of this year-long nonsense of this guy eluding service and saying he lived in Los Angeles and then saying, oh, no, you were trying to serve me in LA? I live in Florida. Why are you trying to do that? And then the Florida lawyers come in and go, oh, no, he's not in Florida. He's in LA. And so there's this back.
I had enough of that.
Yeah. Basically, the judge went, that's enough of that bullshit, right? And said, okay, you know what? Gavel hits the, bop, you're served. And so now that's done. And so now there's no more eluding service or hiding or running away from this. David Miscavige is officially recognized as having been served, which means he is, recognized defendant in the case and acknowledged as such. And what that means in terms of the case's progress is it's one tiny step. I mean, this should have been something that was just knocked out a year ago when the thing was first filed, and we shouldn't have to play these kind of shenanigans. But this is exactly the kind of, horseplay that Scientology and other cult leaders and other nefarious characters get up to when people try to call them on their nonsense. Is they'll play Whack-A-David. Mm-hmm. So, they tried to serve him 47 times. Exactly. I mean, it's just ludicrous, right? It's ludicrous. And that's time and that's money and that's resources wasted because he's just screwing around. Well, no more of that. Now, that's not the big, huge thing with this case, though. The big deal with this case and the next big hurdle to climb or overcome is the religious arbitration question. Now, if you have been following with all of this or look back at the history of it, Luis Garcia, years ago, brought a fraud case against the Church of Scientology in Florida for defrauding him of tens of thousands of dollars in donations to the church because under deceitful circumstances, they lied to him. They said, hey, your money is going to pay for the cross on top of the superpower building, that big, huge monstrosity of a building that they have in Clearwater. And that suit went nowhere because it smacked up against the religious arbitration clause in the contracts that Luis Garcia had signed as a Scientologist. And he had gotten all the way up to OT8 and had been fully on board, and he realized this was all crap, this was junk, this was nonsense, and he had been defrauded, and he tried to sue the church for that, and it ran smack into this arbitration clause. So he was sent to religious arbitration, which is run exclusively and only by the Church of Scientology, in the Church of Scientology, with Scientologists in good standing, only able to attend. And Luis Garcia is not a Scientologist in good standing. So he was given a kangaroo court within the confines of Scientology, and he tried to make a deal out of that. Judge didn't care, didn't really go anywhere. And Valerie Haney has been ran into similar things out in California. Well, now this case is now, as I understand it, that's the next thing that they're going to have to argue and push forward and push through. And Luis Garcia was making his arguments and brought his case in the exact same federal courthouse that this human labor trafficking suit is being brought in. Not the same judge, thank goodness, different judge, same courthouse though. So that's a hurdle to overcome. And if they don't overcome it, this thing could be over before it gets off the ground, because if it goes to religious arbitration, it's going to be the same kind of kangaroo court nonsense, and it's going to, be plowed right into the ground. As has been explained in earlier shows on this channel, when I've had Cyprian on to talk about this stuff, the law favors arbitration, and there's a lot of arbitration in religious settings used out there across the faiths. I mean, you can have Jewish folks do this, Christian folks do this. And it's not always a kangaroo court. It's not always a stacked deck. They actually try to be fair. And the assumption on the part of the courts are that the arbitration process is fair unless you can prove otherwise. And so all the attempts over the last many years by people who are bringing suits against Scientology have been to show this arbitration process is complete crap and it's a loaded, stacked deck against them. And that has not so far really been super, super successful until this, I believe this Valerie Haney case out in California has finally kind of overcome some parts of that, I think. But this one hasn't. This one for sure, I know, has yet to hit that hurdle, and now they're going to have to hit it. So that's, as I understand it, where things are at on that. Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see. The whole point of this, and as I understand it from the limited amount of back communication that I've had on this that I'll share with you guys, is these people who are bringing the suit against, it's Baxter versus Scientology. And you have Valeska Paris and Galwayne Baxter, and I think one other person whose name I don't remember right now. They have no intention, as I understand it, of settling. And usually these cases are settled before they even get in front of a jury, before it even has to be argued in front of a jury. And they intend on taking this thing to the mat and going all the way with it, because the people bringing the suit have to agree to settle. And I think their plan is absolutely not, we're not doing that. This thing is getting in front of a jury. And if it does, just to see your comment there, Henny, about, how much can be allocated for this stuff, I think a jury can go pretty balls to the wall in terms of punishing punishments, right? In terms of making the losers pay. So we'll see where this goes.
Well, I know it's not the same thing, but I mean, it's like, look at how much they did to Alex Jones, how much money he has to pay.
Well, exactly. And yet Alex Jones is apparently, I saw some story today that Alex Jones is running around spending $100,000 a month and claiming bankruptcy at the same time. Like, it's this weird, like, it's not over just because that happens.
You're bankrupt.
But here's the value of this, regardless of the money. Okay, this case is not about money. This case is about exposure of the Church of Scientology and David Miscavige specifically, not L. Ron Hubbard, David fucking Miscavige, and his crimes. Right? What are your crimes, David? As Jenna Elfman would, used to say to Scientology attackers, "What are your crimes? What are your crimes?" Right? Well, we get to hit David with this now, and he's got them. And so this trafficking lawsuit, this is brutal stuff, and the claims that they're making are really horrendous stuff. And for David Miscavige and other Scientology key senior executives and the structure of Scientology to be brought in front of a jury and for them to see all of this, that's the dream, man. That's what we've wanted for a very long time. Because it's going to get press, it's going to get world exposure, and it's going to show that there's like really criminal shit going on in this group. And it's to kids. I mean, these people bringing the suit were minors when some of this stuff was done, and signing, and the contracts and all the other nonsense. So we're really hoping that this thing does have legs, that it will overcome this arbitration nonsense, that the judge will see through it, and that we see that exposure happen and that a jury sees that. That's the real hope here. So we'll see where this goes. And that's sort of my monologue here that I had on that point. All right. So we're gonna pick up this call in the queue right now, and then Mel will monitor the comments as we go. Okay. Right. So is this Darla?
How did you know? I forgot to say my name.
Oh, I have my ways. I'm very OT,
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Yeah. When you're dealing with OTs, magic is the order of the day, right?
For sure.
Or I might have just read it on the caller ID. What you got for us today?
Hi, Mel. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing very well.
I love yeah, I loved her quote today. And I just want to, couple different, first I put Scientology, but then all this monologue, I'm going to go back to what you originally said was let's have some fun and get to know Chris and Melissa.
All right.
Bring it.
But one thing I do want to say though, in regards to what you learned about responsibility today, is I'm sure you can see the difference just in the responsibility of being a cat owner as opposed to being a dog owner.
Oh yeah. It is different.
Very different. Yes. Do you want to lead on this one?
Cats. I've had a lot of cats, and I had 7 for so long, and cats are so much more independent, and they kind of value their me time, and they're like, human, why are you touching me right now? I didn't say you could.
Yeah.
So they're very, and dogs are not like, they need attention. They need it right now. They're much more, they're just, there's so much more to the relationship with the dog, but they're also much more like emotionally in tune to you. I think like they know when you're stressed out, and they come over, and Benson comes over when he can hear it in your voice, and he'll be like, it's okay, and put his little paws on you. And
he will literally come up to us and just do this. And that it's 7 never did that. Now,
every once in a while, I mean, he would do it a little bit with me. Like he would, know I was stressed and come sit in my lap for a second or something, but it wasn't quite the same. It wasn't as intuitive and Yeah. I have my experience with this, of course, is that I'm much more closely connected with Benson than I was with 7. And I was with 7 for 5 years. Yeah.
It wasn't like we didn't try, but cats are just they're literally a whole different breed, right? They're a whole different species. And the dogs are bred to connect with us. That I know for a fact. And it's been that way for a long, long time. And they do it. Their eyes, their expressions, their emotions, even the way they, will come up and care about you and get in your grill and demand attention and want to be part of what you're doing and stuff. It's a whole different experience for me, and I am loving it.
Yeah, and 7 was pretty bonded to me, but I think I've read a lot that a lot of times cats just get bonded to one person, and then other people, they're like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Darla?
Yeah. Well, I think that I've always had a fear of cats, and I worked in Mesa Verde National Park, and which was close to Pagosa Springs, which at the time when I lived there, and I left in 2017, I think, that had been the sighting of the largest mountain lion ever. And I had just, and then, not, so I'm always leery of cats because, they're like, I don't know, kind of sneaky. They always want to be up top. You never know where they're going to come out at. And you're right, Melissa, they seem to be like a one person kind of a thing, just different. Where dogs are just like, they seem to be more family oriented, and like sometimes my dog, Jackson Brown, I kind of have to avoid looking in his eyes so that, I don't get something going on that I don't really want to happen, And,
I get it.
So you get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other thing, let's ask you about this. What do you two share in common and your interests? And do you also have interests outside of one another? And I guess that would give us an insight into Kristen now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have a lot of movies in common.
Batman.
Batman for sure.
Definitely bond on Batman.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we like a lot of similar movies. There's definitely movies that I like or he likes that the other one doesn't like, you know. But we do love our movies and TV and stuff like that, and we're getting into board games. We both seem to like that.
Yeah, we like gaming.
Yeah.
We like a lot of the same. I mean, we come from very different places in terms of the books and stuff we've read.
Yeah.
But the thing about Mel and I that we really bond on is that somehow, despite our incredibly different backgrounds and age difference, because she's, I don't know if we want to say exact number, but, you know.
I'm 12 years younger.
Yeah, she's 12 years younger than me. We think in very similar ways. I mean, we have very similar responses and reactions to things all the time, to the point that it's noteworthy. It's like, wow, you know, you were thinking exactly what I was, you just said exactly what I was thinking, kind of thing. And that happens both ways all the time. So that's where we kind of bond on stuff. So even on things that we haven't mutually experienced or mutually agree on or mutually we can still think similarly about it, if that makes sense. And it's an interesting thing, because I've run into very few people in my life who I connect with that way so closely. So that's the best way I could describe.
Well, that's awesome.
That. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible, because first of all, I don't think the 12-year age gap really means a whole lot at this time in your life.
Correct.
And, you know, having that kind of age difference, I also would imagine that, you know, that decade, you know, like, what am I trying to say? You grew up with one set of kind of, an era of morals and whatever, and Melissa grew up in a different decade.
That's right.
And so I could see where, you know, that could be beneficial. And you know what? It's really awesome that you two found one another and jive really quickly.
Yes. Yeah, we also do bond on our. We do also bond on our religious or lack of religious belief. That's how we first connected.
That's why I kind of figured.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I'm allowed to bring this topic up on your podcast.
Ooh.
So
what you got?
Do it. Okay. So I just seen where mushrooms were legalized in Denver.
Yes, decriminalized.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes, decriminalized.
Yeah.
What is your perspective on that, being into psychology the way that you are?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm happy to talk about that. Briefly, I will say that I am very interested in the studies and research that's being done on this in regards to handling of complex PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And it appears that psilocybin, right, mushrooms, as well as other psychedelics, are really providing some substantive help to people. And this is very exciting to me. I have, since leaving the Sea Org and leaving Scientology behind and coming to Denver, I have partaken in these things. I am no longer qualified for the Sea Org, and this is good. And I have had very positive experiences with that, and a very limited number. I'm not this is not something I do often, but it is a couple times, and it has been, you know, mind-blowing is an appropriate term. It is really, it is a powerful experience. And I, you know, if you're down, I recommend it to people. And I think that there is a lot of potential therapeutic value in this. So if it's guided and well structured and understood what's going on, it's not just sitting in the park, you know, hey man, wow.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential there for people, and I'm hopeful for future research on that.
Yes. And
I completely agree.
Awesome.
And and so May I ask one more question? Or
One more, and then we're going to have to let you go. Yeah, one more.
Okay. So, you know how oftentimes ex-Scientologists or staff members refer to my career in the Sea Org?
Sure.
Why do you think you all use that phrase? I mean, I understand what your work ethic was and everything that you had to do, but I just find it kind of funny, you know. Okay, do you understand my question?
I think so. Yeah, in terms of the phrasing of it that way.
Yeah.
I think I've used that word because I've heard, the honest answer to your question is I think I use that word because I've heard other people use that word to describe the experience of working for the Sea Org. I could very easily say my, period of indentured servitude or slavery or whatever in there too. I could certainly say those things, and there'd be an argument to be made that would be an accurate thing to say, But I don't know. We just kind of use that word. I think because I've heard other people use it.
Well, I think it's a good word to use. I was just curious.
All right, fair enough.
I will let you go.
Awesome.
Okay. Have an awesome evening.
Thank you. Bye, Darla.
Bye.
All right. We are with post haste moving on to our next call.
And thank you for the super chat.
Oh, gosh. Yes. RR. Thank you very much for that. And there was what was the comment there? Oh, yeah. I was going to mention this. RR gave us a nice super chat there. Thank you. And he says, we need Michael Keaton to do an old Batman movie. Well, I don't know if y'all noticed this or not, but there's a movie coming out very soon, which is The Flash. And it's sort of the DC universes, which is where Batman and Superman and The Flash and Green Lantern and Aquaman, that universe. It's different from the Marvel universe. That movie is going to be sort of the DC multiverse. Yeah. If you saw Spider-Man No Way Home and you had a bunch of different Spider-Man actors coming in from the multiverse, that's going to be the Flash movie, and Michael Keaton is coming back as Batman for that movie, which is pretty much the only thing about that movie that appeals to me that I am curious about. Yeah. And we are hardcore 1989 Batman fans. Yeah. And I never had a problem with Michael Keaton as Batman. No. I think 89 Batman is awesome. So just to respond to that super chat there. All right, let's get on to the next call. This is Travis. Hey, Travis, are you still on there?
I am. Hey. And thank you for having me on your show. Hello to you, Melissa.
Hello.
Yeah. A word of caution. Please be very careful for looking up a movie called The Flash online. You might not like the results.
Yes. Not The Flasher. But yes, totally understood.
Take my word for it, okay? So I've got 3 questions tonight. I've got one relatively serious one and 2 off-the-wall ones, which I guess is appropriate for an open mic. And by the way, the 2 off-the-wall questions, Melissa, you could chime in too.
All right.
With those ones.
Cool.
First serious one, and this is for you, Chris.
Yep.
You've mentioned on multiple occasions that Scientology is rabidly against psychiatry, any kind of counseling.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's competition, it's whatever, and, okay, fine. Now, Chris, today and over the past year or 2 on your show, maybe longer, you've been a big proponent, and Mel too, by the way. So Mel, you've been a part of this on the channel. Both of you have been proponents of seeking mental health treatment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, getting counseling, so forth. You've had Rachel Bernstein on, the Jewish lady. She's been a big help.
Yep.
Chris, as you've interviewed her, that's like night and day. Okay, Chris, for you, having come from Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the process for you that took you from the Scientology stance to letting all of that go and then realizing and embracing psychiatry and counseling and so forth?
Absolutely.
Mental health stuff.
Absolutely. And I'll try to do this quickly. When I first got out of Scientology, there were two issues that I tackled head on purpose, directly. The attitudes about LGBTQ and the attitudes in Scientology about psychiatry. Because the first thing I thought to myself after I dumped the Scientology belief set was, well, wait a minute, I have to question everything. And these are the two biggest things that Scientology sort of gifted me, was psychiatry-phobia and homophobia. And so are these valid, or am I just echoing L. Ron Hubbard in my head? And that was literally the thought that I had. And I went, there's only one way I'm going to find out. I need to go find out more about this. I need to get educated on it. And so I tackled both of those topics head on by watching videos, reading books. I reread stuff on the DSM and the whole process of psychiatry. And I have all kinds of criticisms about psychiatry then and now. There's all kinds of things to criticize there. But it is not the horror show that Scientology presents. And that is an important thing that I needed to learn. I knew all about what Scientology had to say. Now I had to go out and find out what the real world was about on this. And in doing so, I was able to kind of dump the phobias and realize that this is just another subject. It's another social science that is trying to answer questions and about us and how we tick, how we work. And from that, I've now, gone enough and, gotten the degree and done all the stuff and gotten my own counseling. We've done counseling. It has been a very positive influence on my life and on my thinking. And that's the process. That's basically what happened.
All right. Thank you. And for anybody out there in Viewerland, you guys haven't met me in person at all, but please, if you need mental health help, please get it.
Yeah.
I can tell you firsthand that it may not do something for you now. You may have some hit or miss stuff. It may take a year or two or longer.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, things get ironed out.
That's
and
right.
I'm proof positive of that. Now, nobody fill in the blanks on that, please. Just understand that Travis is saying to go do that, or at least consider it.
Absolutely.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah, I think finding a good therapist is like dating. It just takes a while to find. It can take a while to find the right one and that matches with you and helps you.
Big time. I was going to echo
yeah,
that.
well,
yep.
Mel. The difference is that person you're dating isn't legally bound to secrecy and doesn't and also has to follow a professional code of ethics.
Yeah.
Correct.
You're dating somebody, neither of those things happen. Trust. Well, you know that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, here, let's move on to a rather lighter subject. So let's go on to the stupid oddball questions.
Yeah.
So here's the first oddball question. Tom Cruise against Danny Masterson in a cage fight with no weapons. Who wins?
Tom Cruise.
Okay.
He's actually
Well, you said that rather quickly.
Well, it's because Tom Cruise is far more physical.
That's
Tom
true.
Cruise is far more trained, and Tom Cruise is far more intense and determined than Danny Masterson would be on his. Tom Cruise on his worst day would take Danny Masterson on his best day.
All right.
Danny Masterson strikes me as somebody who smokes like a pack a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
has bouts of like severe depression.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, this is before the trial, by the way. Normally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. There you go. So let's move on to the second one.
Yes. What you got?
And this is my final input. I've got a list of 3 people here, and I want y'all's opinion as to how successful these people would be in Scientology if they were to show up to local org, wherever that might be.
Yep.
All right. Number 1, Gary Busey. How do you think he'd fare up getting services?
He wouldn't.
You know the actor guy?
Oh, too many drugs or what?
They would kick him out because he has brain damage, actually.
Oh, okay.
He would make no progress.
Wait. You mean to tell me that if he took that, what is that test, the Oxford personality test? You're saying they wouldn't even do that? They'd be like, yeah, dude, here's some money. Go to the 7-Eleven and don't come back.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
Hey, like, listen to that. And he's got some money too, so that's okay. Number 2, Jared Fogle, the Subway dude who's a pervert. He's in the joint now.
Yep.
You think they take him?
Nope. Absolutely not.
Whoa, really?
Absolutely. Convicted felon, child abuser. Absolutely. No way. No way. Too much PR liability in that.
That's true.
That's the point. There's way too much PR liability in that guy.
Wait, so if he were a nobody pervert kid toucher, they'd take him though? Way or no?
Yes. If he was not a convicted felon, then they would. Yes.
Wow, that's shiesty.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, so this is, okay. And the third one is that Andrew Tate guy who's in the news. You think they take him?
That's a good one. That's a good question. No, right now they wouldn't. He's also way too hot right now and way too negative press. Yeah, they don't want to have anything to do with that kind of crap. Yeah. And from what I know, and I don't know a lot, I mean, from what I've read, this guy looks guilty as sin. I mean, Andrew Tate is somebody who, like, it revulses me. I mean, that guy is just awful. So Scientology wouldn't want to have anything to do with that.
Do you realize I've just listed 2 people. 2 of the 3 people here are scumbags of the order that Scientology doesn't even want to touch them.
Yes.
And they're run by David Miscavige. You think about that for a minute. How bad of a scumbag you have to... How much of a chode are you that Scientology's like, yeah, hey, can you come back later? And like by later we mean never.
Right. Exactly. That would be the case, though. Telling you, yeah.
I kind of need a drink after this. Y'all have a good night.
All right.
Thanks for taking my call.
You bet, Travis. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right. Now, I realize I am denying you guys something, and we need to do this. I have 2 other calls in the queue. We're definitely getting to you guys, so don't go anywhere. But we have Benson Cam, and I need to share this with you guys, right? So there's our Benson Cam today. That was our little tiger just a few minutes before the show. I took this, actually, and he's just kicking it on the couch there, and you can see his little tail wagging. He is definitely enjoying it. He's in desperate need of a haircut right now, but he is, we're letting it grow because it's been so snowy and cold out here, and he loves running around in the backyard.
He loves the snow.
He is not just an indoor dog. This guy loves getting out there and getting dirty.
Yes.
So, there's our little Benson, our little bundle of love, our little fur baby.
Yeah.
So I wanted you guys to get that before we carried on here because I knew I was forgetting that. Oh boy, he is just such a little cutie. Love that guy. All right, so let's get back to the calls. All right, this is okay. Is this Andrea? Hello.
It's Andrea, but yeah.
Andrea, hi. Sorry for the mispronunciation. Welcome to the show. Thank you for holding.
Not a problem. I have a question. I've watched, I should rephrase that. I don't usually watch you. I usually listen to you while I'm working, so I can't call in. But today I just decided to be lazy and not go to work yet.
Awesome.
But my question is, I live in Canada, and I once was out of my town, but in Montreal, and they have a Scientology center, whatever it is. It looks like a tiny little hole in the wall, basically, but it was during COVID. But I walked on, I said, I wonder what would happen if I walked in there. What would they do? What would they say? And how would they try to convince me to be part of Scientology, I guess?
Okay, cool. The usual route, and provided you don't sound suspicious or look suspicious, because they are really on edge and they've really been circling the wagons over the last couple of years because of the internet exposure. So they're very, very cautious now. But the usual route is to try to get you to do an introductory service like a personality test or see a film or even go straight into an introductory session or something. But generally speaking, they're going to want to do a personality test on you. And that's going to be the 200 question test, yes, no, maybe, and you get your personality results. And they're going to do what's called, what I call a warm reading, right? They're trying to get data from you so that you will tell them what it is that is ruining your life, that is the thing you want to change or improve immediately and at once, that is most real to you, that if you changed it, your life would be significantly better. And that's what they're looking for. And if they can get that hook and find out what that is, then they will proceed to try to sell you a service, either a class or auditing services, to deal with that ruin. They'll shove your face in it. They'll be like, oh, you have this problem with your spouse and you can't talk to your spouse, and you're telling me you have a constant problem and you're always on eggshells and it's always a problem. Well, we have a class that can deal with that, and you need to do it. And if you don't do it, this problem is going to persist and it's not going to go away, and you're not going to deal with it. So you came in here to deal with it. So let's get you this class, right? And that's basically how the pitch would sort of go. It would be very tailored to you and your circumstances, but that's the effort at the opening, is to find your ruin, rub your face in it, get you to agree that you need help, and then sell you that help. That's it.
Interesting.
Yes.
Because I'm just really interested. Like, I've been interested in, I guess, cults, I guess you would say, since I was in high school, and I'm way past high school age. But I remember doing a book report kind of study thing on Charles Manson. So it's always just kind of been interesting to me. And I guess what interests me the most, and I know you said you were raised in it, so it doesn't count for you, but how do people fall for this? I logically can't understand it. My brain just, I can't click.
No, I get it. It's that ruin thing is a little bit of a leap of faith. It's a little bit of a trust thing where you are opening up about yourself, and so you have to feel safe enough to do so. And the whole effort of the recruiter, the person who's selling you your initial services, is to be pleasant, warm, compassionate, and caring. And they put on a persona of this, and they become your best friend, right? Your confidant. That's the role they're trying to take. And at the same time, it's a little bit of an iron rod, an iron fist in the velvet glove thing, because if that's the velvet glove, the iron fist is, well, I really care about you and I really want you to do well, but you have to get this service. If you walk out of here and you don't do this, you're dooming yourself to a life of continuing, like you haven't solved it yet, and you came in here looking for help. Well, we've got the help. So, and it all hinges on really hitting that ruin, that thing that you want to change. And some people, respond better to that than others. Not everybody responds to it. A lot of people walk in, do that whole thing, and walk right out the door. But some people don't. And at the end of the day, it's a numbers game.
So what would they say to me if I said my biggest problem is I don't have enough money? Because I know they want money.
Well, sure, but how come? See, money is not is the symptom, not the problem, right? Okay, you don't have enough money, but why? Are you not working hard enough? Are you working too hard? Is somebody in your life making your life so difficult you can't make money? What's the problem right behind that? They're not going to accept a surface thing. They want to get to you and your personality and your problems as a person, as an individual.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for answering my question. I might actually just walk in one day, just
check it out.
Experiment.
Yeah, see what happens. I'd be very curious to hear. Now, of course, I'm sitting here telling you all this 10 years out, right? This is the methodology they use, but I'd be very curious to hear what your experience would be if you went in there.
I might just do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't how to shake this. Why? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Fair enough.
Maybe I'll go do it and find out why.
Yeah, check it out.
But thank you for answering my question.
Absolutely. Before you go, let me say one last thing though, and this is super important. Do not, under any circumstances, give them your actual name and address and contact information.
They'll never leave you alone.
They will never,
I
ever
actually
stop.
I actually thought about doing this before I called you, and I was talking to my daughter about it, and there's one closer to us than Montreal, and I was like, if we were to do this, we'd have to rent a car, because I don't want them to have my license plate.
Yep.
Park the rental car like 3 blocks away and walk.
Yeah.
If
you just go there on the yeah, just go by the bus or metro or something. You don't have to go that extravagant. They're not going to follow you and take your license plate. They're not going to do that. But if you give them a name and address and a phone number, they're going to have it on their in their files forever. They'll never give it up, and they will never stop trying to contact you.
Okay, good to know.
Cool. All right, Andrea, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, got one more call in the queue here that I think we're going to get to, and this is Anthony. So let's pick this up. Hey, Anthony, welcome back to the show. What you got for us today?
Hey, Chris. Hey, Mel. Good to hear from you guys. Hope you guys have had a good day.
Yeah, we've had a great day so far. Yeah. How about you?
Not bad. Not bad. Well, I'll try to keep my questions quick. My first one is, I'm sorry if you mentioned this before when you started the show. You very well might have. I only caught the show pretty recently.
Okay, what you got?
But I was just wanting to ask about David Miscavige being served. What do you think this means for Scientology? What do you think this means for Scientology in general? Is this the beginning of the end? Is there going to be, or is this a big nothing?
Yeah, it's not a big nothing. I did talk about this at the beginning of the show, so I will say, catch it on the replay because I don't want to repeat myself in the same show.
No, for sure.
But in terms of in terms of what you just asked, it's not the end at all. It is. It is a good step forward. There is another big hurdle to climb, which is the arbitration, and until that's settled, I'm not really confident that this case has got legs and is going to go all the way. I want it to desperately for all the reasons I've already laid out. I really want it. I'm not at all trying to be a doomsayer here. This is no foregone conclusion. The arbitration could get thrown out, and I really hope it does. And that's kind of where we're at with it right now. Miscavige being served is a step on the road, and that's pretty much all it is.
I would be more excited if it was a criminal case, not a civil case.
Oh yeah.
I would be out of my mind if it was a criminal case. That would be so amazing if the government would finally.
How likely do you think that is?
It's so damn hard to say. You know about investigations that happen. You hear about this, you hear about that. You see stuff, you hear rumors of things, but it never really coalesces in anything substantial where they're bringing a RICO case or where they're bringing an enormous case for tax exemption or, you just don't hear about this stuff actually coalescing into something real. And until I do, I can't take the rumors seriously. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've heard this stuff go back and forth and on. And I want to see some meat on those bones, So that's kind of where I'm coming from on this at this point. Show me the money.
Maybe what needs to happen is someone needs to catch Miscavige beating the shit out of somebody on tape. Unless he stopped doing that. But
exactly. But he's never going to do that in a situation where somebody's going to be able to do that. I mean, that's the thing about this guy and his entourage and his inner circle and all of that is it could, I can't say, never say never, but I just know the level of control that this guy has on his life and who he lets get close to him. And, he doesn't even let celebrities get close to him anymore after Leah, apparently. According, if we were to believe what, what Lisa Marie Presley told Tony Ortega, right? So this guy is walled in and he's in his own little prison and, that's great, but he still has everything he wants or needs, at his whim. So I want to see something really substantive happen.
Yeah. Well, I'll catch what else you said on the replay for sure. My other thing was a question about you, Chris. This is actually something I've sort of wondered about for a while, actually. I've listened to you tell your whole life story on your channel, and you talked about right before you were young, about to go to college. before you got recruited to join staff in Santa Barbara, and you had said that your plan was to go to college to become a writer. You were like a Stephen King fan, and you wanted to be a fiction writer. I hate the idea that Scientology stole that from you, because now you're doing good work now, but your life is still in a way dominated by Scientology, because now you're fighting against them, but there's still a huge part of your life in a way. And I wanted to ask you if you were ever considering revisiting that or going back to that to sort of make up for that, because you didn't get to do that when you wanted to originally. And I would hate the fact that that was permanently taken from you by Scientology. You know what I mean?
Totally. I totally get that. And I would say that I have very definitely considered that. I have, story ideas and stuff in my mind. I do understand the structure of writing and how to do it. I can't say I'm any good at it as a fiction writer. I know I'm good at it as a nonfiction writer at this point. So it's something I'd like to, cut my teeth on or something, but it's a future thing at this point, given all the projects and everything else I've got in my life now.
Yeah.
And I do want to, I would like to respond a little bit to what you just said, because I don't feel the same way about my life being dominated by Scientology now. And the reason I say that is because everything I do now in this space or in this area is by choice. Mm-hmm. Everything is my choice, Right. It's a big distinction for somebody like me to say something like that, right? And I need to say that out loud, because I don't feel that there's still a presence or controlling my life in any way. These are things I choose to do because I want to help people. I could step out of this tomorrow and go away and never think about it again, but then I'm not going to be helping people. Yeah. And that's what I want to do. So I just wanted to respond to that, because I don't want you to feel that I'm suffering in any way or something like that. That's all.
I didn't think you were suffering in any way. Where I was coming from was more so like, obviously it would have been better for you in your life if you had stayed with your original plan and gone to college and been a writer. Sure. Your life would have been so much better. And while I am very glad you're doing what you're doing right now, we all your fans are. I'm not saying you should stop at all. I'm saying you should totally keep going. I'm just saying that hopefully at some point you can you can fulfill that dream a bit,
Yes,
so
I do.
It wasn't to complete a bit. You didn't have to totally abandon it.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with you. And I really do hope at some point in the future to be able to revisit that. I really do. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Awesome, man. Well, that's all I had. I'm gearing up. I've been planning this for a while. I'm gearing up for my org visit to try and subtly drop some hints to the staff in there and just sort of see the whole thing for myself. It's nerve-wracking. I'm nervous as hell about it for whatever reason, but I'm getting ready to do it and report back on the show. So stay tuned for that.
You bet, man. I will definitely be watching. Thanks, Anthony.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yep, you too. All right. Now, we got a couple other calls in the queue, but we are going to have to wrap up the show because we've done our hour. I have got to acknowledge the super chats.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we had Nolo here for some treats for Benson. Thank you. And we had R.R. Smith again. Thank you very much. And R.R., I do not blame you at all. Okay. Folks come on and tell me, hey, I'm going to go down to the Oregon stuff, or I want to go check this out. I'm not going to tell you not to do that, right? Do what you're going to do. But I definitely don't endorse or recommend doing that. Okay. They're just going to fuck with your head. That is what they do there. And something that has to be appreciated about groups like Scientology is we laugh and ridicule them and we call them silly and stupid because they are. And there's a lot of goofy stuff that goes on in there. But if those opening procedures, if those techniques they use to get people in didn't work, then they wouldn't do them. They do something else. They've been refining this stuff for like 70 years. They definitely know something about how to change minds, how to deceive people, and how to sell them something, how to sell them a piece of blue sky, as John says, right? So that's kind of a thing. And if you go in there, you really got to appreciate that, or they might just, get under your skin. So it's just something to throw out there that, I'm not going to say don't do it, but I am going to say we really are telling you all the straight dope here. We're not pulling any punches when we talk about, and by we, I mean me, Mark, Aaron, Tony, Karen, all of us, right? So just something that I wanted to say to that. Okay, so I think we have one more. Oh, yes. Yes.
There we are.
Annette, thank you very much for that. Yes, apparently Mark is getting targeted again. There's some talk about that. I am a little excited to see more folks. Mike Rinder started up a YouTube channel. A little excited to see more activity in this area, in this zone. I hope that the content that is being put out, look, I'm just going to be straight. I really hope the content that's being put out is educational and informative and not just, sensationalistic. I see some of that and it bothers me, but that's just me. Like I've said before, it's just me. So there we go. Henny, I have seen your comments here tonight with your suggestions. They are great. I agree. Mental health, depression, these things. Definitely want to talk more about those things. Yeah. We should probably do, another podcast on that at some point. I don't know if you all know, Mel and I have done 1 or 2 podcasts on the subject of mental health in the past, and you can find those under the Sensibly Speaking podcast. So, so there we go. Yay, go Kelly. Yeah, you're one of those people who started up a YouTube channel too. That's right. Kelly Cross did. So I'll throw that free advertising out there for you, Kelly. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap up. Folks on the queue, I'm really sorry that we could not get to your calls this week. Do come back next week. We will be here, and I want your calls. I really do. I just got to keep it to an hour, or it's just going to go on and on and on. So, that all being said, let's do our card of the week. How could we not call ourselves an educational show if I skip this? Pick a card, any card. These are our critical thinking cards.
All right, availability heuristic. Your judgments are influenced by what springs most easily to mind. How recent, emotionally powerful, or unusual your memories are can make them seem more relevant. This, in turn, can cause you to apply them too readily. Try to gain different perspectives and source statistical information. I can't read tonight.
All right. Well, basically, the point of this is, if it's at the surface of your brain, if you're thinking about it, if it pops up immediately, that can bias you.
Yeah. So don't necessarily go with the first thing that pops into your mind.
Exactly. That's the point. And we have a podcast this week. You guys are going to love this, I think. It is my 2-hour discussion with John Atack about brainwashing. I edited it today. It's going up tomorrow. I really hope you guys check it out. We cover a lot of territory in 2 hours in terms of the history of brainwashing, going all the way back to Pavlov and Russia, not just China, and where China got it from. They didn't invent it. And how that manifests in Scientology with a truth rundown. We go into that, and we go into a lot of other stuff because, John and I, we go here and we go there. So I hope you guys will check that out. We're going to have a regular pre-recorded Q&A, not a live show this week, but request for you guys. We are coming up on Critical Q&A number 400.
Wow.
Not this weekend, but next weekend. And I'm thinking about doing a, big live show or something, maybe have Mel help me. But I'm open to suggestions. You guys, 400 episodes. I mean, that is over 3,000, almost 3,500 questions answered. Ooh. There's a lot of stuff out there on this channel for you guys. So, but for episode 400, I want to celebrate somehow. So y'all give me some suggestions how to do that, and maybe I will do them. And that all being said, yes, 400 party indeed. Let's go ahead and wrap up. Thanks for coming around, guys. I will see you all this weekend and see you next week. Bye-bye.